The village of Eldermore had always been a place of beauty and serenity. Nestled at the base of the great Gilder Mountain, the village was surrounded by dense forests and winding rivers. The air always smelled fresh, and the sun seemed to shine just enough to keep the land fertile. But now, the earth was cracked, the rivers dry, and the once lush green fields were nothing more than yellow-brown stubble. Eldermore had not seen a drop of rain in over a month. As the villagers gathered in small groups, they spoke of the legend, the story of the Rainmaker, the ancient tree at the heart of the forest, said to hold the power to summon the rain. It was said that the tree would only respond to those who were pure of heart and who truly believed in its magic. Yet it had been decades since anyone had dared to seek the Rainmaker, and even then, those who had tried returned empty-handed, with no sign of the legendary tree's power. Lyra, a young girl of 17, stood on the edge of the village, her heart heavy with worry. Her father had been a farmer, his hands weathered by years of labor, but even his strong, calloused hands were helpless against the dry earth. Her mother, who had passed away when Lyra was just a child, had often told her stories of the Rainmaker and how it had once brought rain to save Eldermore from a similar drought long ago. Lyra never truly believed in the story, dismissing it as one of her mother's fanciful tales, but now, with the fields withering and her father growing desperate, the story seemed to have more weight. "Lyra," her father called from the doorway of their small cottage. His voice was strained, the lines on his face deepening with the stress of the season. "You need to help with the watering. There's no more time to waste." "I know, Father," Lyra replied softly, turning toward him. "But I've been thinking, what if we tried something different? What if we went to the Rainmaker? Maybe it could help us." Her father looked at her, his eyes narrowing in skepticism. "The Rainmaker? That's just a story, Lyra. You're better off helping me here, where we can at least try to save the crops we have left." "I can't just sit and wait, Father," Lyra said, her voice trembling slightly. "I believe there's something out there that can help us. Maybe if I go, I can find a way to make the rain come." Her father sighed, his face softening. He was a practical man, shaped by the harsh realities of farming. But Lyra's words stirred something deep within him. He saw in her the same spark of hope that had once carried him through the toughest seasons of his youth. Perhaps, against all logic, the Rainmaker was the only hope they had left. "Be careful," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And don't go too deep into the forest. It's not a place for children." Lyra nodded, a determined glint in her eyes. She had heard the warnings, of course. The forest was rumored to be enchanted, filled with creatures both good and ill, and the Rainmaker itself was said to be a being of ancient power. But in her heart, Lyra knew that she had no other choice. If the Rainmaker could bring rain, it might be their only chance. With a pack of supplies and a heart full of both fear and hope, Lyra set out toward the forest. As she walked, the dry, cracked earth beneath her feet seemed to whisper of the years of hardship the land had endured. The trees that bordered the forest appeared brittle and frail, their leaves brown and brittle, no longer offering the lush shade they once had. Still, Lyra pressed on, her resolve growing with each step. The journey into the forest was far more difficult than Lyra had anticipated. The forest, once full of life and mystery, now felt haunting and still. The wind barely stirred the trees, and the air seemed heavy, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Lyra's steps were cautious, but her spirit remained undeterred. She knew she had to reach the Rainmaker. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting the forest in a warm, golden light, Lyra heard a sound, a low murmur, like the whisper of wind through the leaves. It was a sound she hadn't heard in weeks, and it brought her a small sense of comfort. The wind seemed to be calling to her, guiding her deeper into the forest. After several hours of walking, Lyra finally came to a clearing. In the center stood the Rainmaker, its massive trunk twisted and gnarled, with branches that seemed to stretch toward the heavens. The tree was unlike anything Lyra had ever seen. Its bark shimmered with a soft, ethereal glow, and its leaves glowed faintly in the dimming light, as if the tree was alive with energy. Lyra approached slowly, feeling a mix of awe and fear. The tree was said to be ancient, older than the village itself, and its presence was both beautiful and intimidating. She could feel the pulse of life emanating from the tree, as if it were waiting for her, just as the stories had. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine as the final trial began. The world around her shifted once more, and she found herself standing alone in a vast, empty void. There was no sky, no earth, just an endless expanse of darkness. But before her, a figure appeared, a shadowy, indistinct form that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. It was her, or rather, it was a version of herself, taller, older, with an expression that mirrored all the fears and doubts Lyra had ever harbored about herself. The figure's eyes glowed with a cold, merciless light, and its voice echoed with the weight of all her insecurities. Do you truly believe you can save your village, Lyra? What makes you think you have the strength to face the storm? You are nothing but a child, untested and fragile. You will fail. Lyra's heart trembled as the words struck her. She had always feared that she was not enough, that her efforts would be in vain, that she would never live up to the expectations placed upon her. The figure before her seemed to embody all those fears, feeding on them, growing stronger with each passing moment. You are weak, the figure sneered. You'll never be able to bring the rain. You will fail. You have nothing to offer the world. But as the words continued to strike at her, Lyra's resolve began to harden. She remembered her mother's words, the stories of strength and hope she had been told as a child. She remembered the faces of the people in her village, their smiles, their laughter, and their shared moments of kindness. She remembered her father's tired yet loving face, urging her to never give up. No, Lyra whispered, her voice growing stronger. I am not weak. I am not alone. The figure before her faltered, its form flickering like a dying flame. Lyra stepped forward, her heart steady, her voice clear. I have something to offer. I have courage, I have hope, and I have love for my people. That is what will bring the rain. With those words, the figure shattered into 1,000 pieces, dissolving into the void. The darkness began to fade, and light filled the space. Lyra felt a weight lift from her shoulders, and in its place, a deep sense of peace washed over her. The trial was complete. The ground beneath her feet shifted once again, and the voice of the Rainmaker returned, softer now, as if satisfied. You have passed the trials, Lyra. You have proven your heart, your mind, and your soul. The rain you seek is yours. Lyra awoke with a start, back at the clearing where the Rainmaker stood. The storm had cleared, and the world around her was bathed in the soft glow of dawn. The sky above, once dark and foreboding, was now clear, with a faint blush of pink on the horizon. And then she heard it, the gentle patter of raindrops. It started as a soft drizzle, barely more than a mist, but within moments it grew into a steady downpour, soaking the earth and filling the rivers. The drought was over, the land was alive again. Lyra stood in the clearing, her heart swelling with joy and relief. The Rainmaker had kept its promise.